get. So that's what you say back to people when they tell you, I want to vote for you, but I'm afraid. You tell them, you just remind them, you just open their eyes to where the politics of fear has brought us. It has brought us everything we're afraid of. We need to answer that politics of fear with the politics of courage. That's what we're about, and that's what the history of progressive politics has been about. It's not just been movements, social movements, movements in the street. It has been that, but it has also been electoral movements and independent third parties that have helped articulate that message and that demand. Because in the words of Frederick Douglass, power does not concede without a demand, never has, never will. And part of what we do as the Green Party, or as any independent, non-corporate third party does, it articulates that demand without which power does not concede. So it's not only okay to stand up and vote for ourselves and our future, it's essential that we do it. Because if we don't, you have an unmitigated slide to the right. And that's what we're doing now. When you leave it to the corporate parties to duke it out among themselves, it's a competition for who can run for the money. And so we're just lurching to the right. We need to be there, regardless of the outcome of the election. We need to be there to be that counterweight. And especially in a time like this, when the public is so intensively searching for what we're about, we need to stand up, stand tall, stand proud, be heard, and take our democracy back. So basically, I'm here not to ask for your vote, but to ask for your leadership in this campaign and in this democracy, because it is time for us to do that. We are at this breaking point on our economy, in our education system, our health care, our climate, our planet, international law, and human rights. We are all at the breaking point. It's time for us to stand up, as we have been, but to stand taller, prouder, and louder than we ever have been. It's time for us to run as many candidates as we can, and I want to acknowledge our Senate candidate in the room, and to thank him. Is it David?
Ken.
Ken. Welzer?
Walski.
Walski. Okay, Ken Walski. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank Steve Welzer for stepping up to the plate as our co-chair. One of our co-chairs. I want to thank all the people in the room, and I know there are many who are doing the hard work to keep our parties moving forward as treasurers, as secretaries, as co-chairs. This is the tough work that it takes, and I want to thank all the others of you who are doing the hard work that you're doing, and I know that's what it means to be green. We are not the bystanders in a spectator sport here. We are the ones who know that this is all about what we do. Our future is in our hands. Our democracy is in our hands. So I thank you for being the ones to turn this breaking point into a tipping point so that we can start now taking back the promise of our democracy and the peaceful, just, green future that we deserve and that really is in our reach. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Before you go, Beresford Jones would like to read a poem he dedicated to you. Come on up. He wrote this just for you. Yes, I have a copy of it.
Dr. Jill Stein for President. The nation is bleeding, no other is heeding. This is the hour to give Jill the power. To save us now, only she knows how. While others kowtow, she will never bow. Money is the power that makes Congress cower. while Americans suffer and life gets rougher. Yes, the nation is ill. We need Dr. Jill to save us from wealth and bring us to health.
Beresford is running for Congress in the 8th District.
Oh, good. Jill, how do we make out the checks, please?
Yeah. So very simple. It's just Jill Stein for president.
All right. What I'm going to do is, I've given 75 to this point, and I'm going to give another 175, which will bring my contribution to 250. And I encourage everybody to do the same thing if you would today.
Thank you.
Yeah. People have been handing me checks, and I appreciate it anytime somebody seeks me out to make sure that we leave with a check in hand. We're heading to the left forum. We wish we could stay longer. We got up very early to come down here, so just want to apologize that we have to leave right away. And thank you so much.
What are the qualities that you're going to be looking for if you receive the nomination for your vice presidential candidate?
I guess, to answer that, I would say I'm looking for the qualities that I think the Green Party is all about, and that means the qualities of public interest, public service, and really understanding what it means to be about peace, justice, and a green future. I think it helps for us to diversify the ticket so that we encompass as big a sector of the country as we can, in all ways, geographically, racially, ethnically, and so on. I think a diverse ticket is a great idea. And beyond that, I'm really open to suggestions.
Would you consider some of the other candidates running for president as maybe being a part of your ticket?
Absolutely, yeah, indeed. And we intend to have a sort of a public input for that search for a vice presidential candidate. So stay tuned and please send us your suggestions. Great. Wonderful. Yeah.
What is your relationship to the Occupy movement, which I think is pretty much where it's at right now?
Couldn't agree with you more. Yes. We had launched our campaign actually just before the Occupy movement broke, but we were really excited to see it happen, and we have been reaching out and working with occupiers at every opportunity. We'll be at Occupy at Zuccotti Park this afternoon. We have visited Occupies in just about every city and town that we've gone to. We make it a point to seek out the Occupies and also to seek out the students.
Have you met Ken Zeiss and Dr. Margaret Flowers yet?
Yes, actually, right, and very much appreciate and honor the work that they're doing, which is terrific. And I think your questions are exactly on point, that we can't do this just in electoral politics, and they can't do it just in the street because they will be victims of electoral politics. So it's really important that we build trust and that we work together to actually make things happen. And historically, this is how progressive movements have worked. The movement to abolish slavery had a small third party, the Liberty Party, which helped formulate the demand and drive it into the broader political debate. Same thing for the women's right to vote. Had the Women's Party, which helped formulate its demand and drive it forward. Same for unionization, the 40-hour work week, Social Security, the New Deal. They all came up through independent parties, political parties that were not part of business as usual. Business as usual in a two-party system, which is what we've got right now to work with, it has never been the machine that drives us forward towards the kinds of reforms that we need. So absolutely, I think it is this collaboration between those kinds of movements and the Green Party. And we are working 24/7 to help build that relationship and build the trust. Because I know for occupiers, there's a lot of distrust with the whole electoral process. And it's very important that they understand we are not your usual political predators that are generally associated with electoral politics. We are something totally apart from that, and we've been getting a great reception. Yeah.
And just to answer a question people have been asking me, you can give cash. We do need you to fill out these forms. They will not get you on any list except for ours and also the list of contributors to the campaign with the FEC. But so if you give cash, make sure you fill this out. And also for those who are writing checks, please fill it out too. You can also make credit card donations as well.
And we need those forms in order to get the matching funds. So that's why we put you through the drudgery. Yeah, it's for a reason. Yes?
I'm just curious, listening to the strategies, or listening to the issues and the responses to them, and knowing that you're interacting with various groups who have become disenchanted. I'm wondering what the strategy is for folks who always get disenchanted. For the poor, all of a sudden I hear a few candidates talking about the poor, which has never been, it's like they don't exist.
Yes.
And mainly the quote working poor, those who are not asking for any handouts, but still are always right there at the poverty line, no matter what they do, and have a feeling that they are invisible.
Exactly.
And what kind of grassroots, I mean real grassroots, such as we saw back in the 50s and the 60s, although much of the, well, I'll say 40s and 50s, we never talked about things blossomed, quote unquote, in the 60s. But what strategies are there for people who just don't believe that anything, it's not even, it's about economics, but it's about being seen as human beings. Is there a strategy for that?
Yes, there is. And, you know, we're certainly working with the various networks that the Green Party has and trying to move out from there. And I'm glad to say, as I've gone around the country and gotten to know the National Party for the first time, because I'm actually new to the national political party here with Greens. I've mostly been working inside of Massachusetts. But I've been really gratified to see that there is a lot of attention paid to exactly this kind of question. In my state, in Massachusetts, the Green Party is actually a merger of the Green Party and the Rainbow Party Coalition, which goes back before Jesse Jackson, before he affiliated with the Democratic Party. This was like, predated that, and really reached out to exactly that community that was so disenfranchised and so ignored by the political process that their effort was to create a whole new party that specifically reached out to low-income, poor, and communities of color. So in our state, we did a big mobilization around voting rights and around redistricting, and actually we succeeded in doubling. We doubled the representation of communities of color in the last redistricting effort, and that was done largely through the work of the Black Empowerment Coalition, which was an extremely grassroots group of churches, prison rights, fighting against Corey laws, you know, the kinds of real oppression that hits lowest income communities of color the hardest. Those were the kinds of groups that were involved in this effort to take back their voting rights through a more representative kind of redistricting. And it's interesting that the Green Party, the Green Rainbow Party, we call it in Massachusetts, was critical. And it was because we were at the forefront of this fight for voting rights for low income and communities of color that the legislature felt intimidated to actually do it. We never thought in our wildest dreams that we would actually succeed in doubling the representation for communities of color, but we did because they saw that the Green Rainbow Party was there in the leadership, and if they failed to do it, it was going to really drive everybody out of the Democratic Party. So just to underscore your point, this is really critical, and I think it requires a lot of specific thinking in every state and in every community. How do we reach out to the most disenfranchised? And it takes a lot of us to do that. And you know, I would really welcome your participation to help guide that effort What part of the state are you in?
I'm in Trenton, Hamilton Township.
Yeah,
But I'm also very familiar. I lived in Washington for
I see.
quite a few years. And down there, it's the statehood Green Party.
That's right.
which did some of what you're talking about, is emerging.
That's right.
Statehood party.
Yes, and a number of the Green parties, as I go around and learn about them, have very active components, have very active groups that represent those communities who have actually gotten active and have sought out the Green Party. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Black Agenda report, and most of those writers are active Greens as well. So I think there are really strong voices within those communities that are fighting these battles, in the community of color and in impoverished communities, that really are now trying to find ways to politically take the power back. And this guy's about to take me back.
That's right. and I'm really going to do it. We're cutting it off, and I'll tell you why. It is a green day. It's St. Patrick's Day. There is a parade, I hear, in New York City. And we have to, not only is Glenn Ford, a Black Agenda report, appearing on a panel, but so is Jill Stein at noon. So I don't know if we're going to make it, but I'm going to just cut it off right now.
How do we email?
How do you what?
Email Jill?
Look at the forms, the flyers that were handed out. The yellow flyers or the green ones. There's two different colors here. It's right on the bottom, on the back. You can go to the website. I promise you that Dr. Stein will be back to New Jersey before the election. So you will see her again, maybe several times. And go out, get New Jersey on the ballot. Thanks for everything you're doing.